Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Best of All Worlds podcast here on the Nerds and Rules channel. It's a very exciting time for us all here because, well, I may have said this before multiple times, but seeing that this is very appropriate for the time-based episodes that we're doing, it all feels a bit repetitive. But we are on a time-based arc of episodes at the moment. And we are getting into some very heavy hitters because, as you said, we are looking for some heavyweights to challenge our current front runners, and we might have found a couple hiding in between the space-time continuums. But we are here, and we are exploring a new frontier of sorts, which is always the point of Star Trek in the end, Jerry. And you're joining me one more time, this time to check out a latest bit of new Trek that we are going to be doing today. And do kind of a bit around the behind the camera. We've said it multiple times at this stage now, but it's starting to come to a head today.
Yeah,
This is the first time you have watched this episode of Strange New Worlds.
it is. I have not
Hmm.
watched this episode yet. It's not that I haven't enjoyed Strange New Worlds. It's just that I really haven't had time to watch it. I know we've got a second season out. I should really watch a bit more of it, considering I am going to be interviewing Christina Chong.
Hmm. Well, you got
So
you got something to binge. You actually timed it quite well because once you watch, because you've kind of wanted to watch this episode first before jumping into season two, so now you
yeah,
got all of season two to binge before Comic Con, which will be well and truly done
by
by the time this comes out. But
by the time this comes out, we're well and truly done. But in terms
yes.
of recording, it's a week away, and yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is a I've seen little bits of what happens in this episode, so I'm actually really excited.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Excellent. Right then. Well, we're not going to waste any time because this is a deluxe episode, as all of New Trek episodes are. So we're going to jump right in. Jerry, are you ready for Equality of Mercy?
I'm ready to go.
Excellent. So, as a tradition for you guys watching at home, if you want to watch this episode along with us, you can with the streaming platform of your choice. Well, if you've heard this is New Trek, so there's only one or two places you can look for this. If you know, you know. So watch along with us if you want to. If you don't want to, again, this is the best of all worlds. It's half watch along, half review. If you don't want to watch the episode with us, you can just skip an hour and then hear our thoughts on the episode where we'll have a bit of trivia, we'll talk about guest stars, any ships that come across, all that sort of stuff. We'll be touching on at the end of the episode. But until then, Jerry, you're going in blind for this episode, which I'm very excited by. I've given nothing away. So let's see how he gets on. So on the count of three. Three, two, one, engage. Or in Pike's case, hit it.
Yeah, they all have their own individual ways of saying it now at this stage.
Yeah, it's kind of strange how they're kind of making a point of it in a lot of these shows now. That like they
Yeah,
have to have their own bombastic sign-offs. It's like don't
I
really, but I get where you're coming from.
yeah I do like that new intro with
It's fabulous, isn't it?
it's fucking amazing. It
Mm,
really is. Oh, here we go, straight
yeah,
in.
yeah. So this has essentially been the season arc for Pike at this stage, where continued on from Discovery season two, where he basically spoils the plot for himself for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
And essentially all the time he has now is his, but he knows at some point this is going to come to a head. Um,
I would like. Obviously, we know what happens to Pike, but I would like to have. I'd love there for it to be some sort of twist, and he actually does have a happy ending. You
it'd
know,
be like, yeah, there's a part of me that does want this for him, but
like just look at that.
mm,
Just ah, look at that.
Strange New Worlds has done a lot of things well, and
Yeah.
the just visuals is a big one of them. Like they've, especially in the first season, they've done a lot of different places, and they've done them well. The Cayuga is incidentally is what command Captain Patel commands. Pike's better half, as it were. You think that Riker got his cooking inspiration from Pike, going, "If he can do it, I can do it too."
Yeah.
No, Riker, you can't. You said uniforms as well.
Yeah, the uniforms are fantastic.
Yeah.
The thing I'm just looking at Pike there now, and I haven't actually noticed over the last few episodes. I
Hmm.
don't know how haven't the side
Yes, the
here
sideburns. Yeah.
the sideburns. He's
Hmm.
such a cool looking fucker, isn't he?
He
He
really
really is.
is. Yeah.
And the
Like they
hair
must.
is fantastic.
Oh, they so looked out with him when they signed him up to be Pike. They just
Yeah.
did not. We'll get into this in the review, but
Mm.
the guys just had no idea how good they have it with this cast. They really
Yeah.
did not. So if you, at some stage take a pause at that screen there, and you can just see that's like all of that is fairly accurate to to how we know the star charts.
Yeah. Wow.
Hmm. That's kind of the first time in the series you see him actually quite rattled. He's a very cool
Yeah.
head otherwise. So yeah, in the accent that does eventually make him a vegetable.
Yeah.
You know, so that knows what's behind him.
What's that?
Did you notice that he was sitting down there?
I didn't see him. No.
No.
Wow. The
The
the motion picture era uniform
maroon, the yeah,
is the maroon. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's the big maroon or something like
monster
that.
maroon,
Right. Well,
monster maroon. Yeah,
it's fantastic. I have seen this images of this. It's
yes.
fantastic.
Oh, you don't know the half of it, Jerry. You don't know the half of it. I've been waiting months to do this episode with you, and for very good reason. There's a very good reason for this episode. Can also say as well, these opening titles are absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. I find the opening titles of Discovery better than no, sorry, Stranger Worlds better to be better than Discovery and Picard.
Yeah, it doesn't hold. They don't hold a candle to this. And solely because genuinely they just made a Star Trek introduction. They
Yeah,
did what they normally do. And again, for what the type of show that we have here, that's kind of what we want. We want old but new is the best way to describe it. More of the same,
yeah.
essentially. But even the actual again, now that you have such a budget now for the special effects and making everything look crisp and clean, my God, did they use it? Do they absolutely just every penny
Yeah.
spent to make this show look
Like
amazing?
the way I look at it is we want all the old but same. So basically, give us
Mm.
exactly what we've been getting, but just update it.
Yeah,
Kind of like the
essentially.
bridge of the Enterprise.
Yeah,
It's the
but
same but
mm,
different.
yeah. So
You
it's
know?
they work in the original sound effects, they work in the consoles and all this sort
Yeah.
of stuff, but they justify why you're still using cartridges, you're still using flicks and switches and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Just bridging that gap between how we saw in the NX-01 to what we would see on, say, I guess the retrofits in the
Yeah.
movies. Yeah. Now this is where it gets interesting.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And just look at the uniform. It's amazing.
But I like the fact that it is different.
Mm.
And the reason that it is different because it is a different timeline.
It's an alternate reality, exactly. It's just different enough. So as I said, anyone who watches Discovery knows what happens with the time crystal.
Yeah.
So this is very familiar territory. Now, very small thing, just checking his cuff. Yeah, I'm captain. Okay, go.
You and you.
Hmm. I'm seeing we're thankfully we're past the point of taboo where man where or the past the point where mind meld was a taboo, so we're okay with this.
Well, the taboo was 100 years before, so
Mm. As it repeats, it's from Discovery there. Has the penny dropped yet?
yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, it's got to be Kirk. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
if if it's 6 months after the accident, so Kirk would be in command, so he would be there. And I'm
Yes,
assuming it's to do with a particular episode that we watched.
it is. This is a
That's why it.
retelling. Yeah,
That's why it's called what's this episode called? It's
it's called The Quality of Mercy, but
Mercy. Yeah,
it's a retelling of The Balance of
Palace
Terror.
of Terror. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just the music just kicking in there. It's like, here's the main character. Fascinating. So you can see that Ortegas has taken the role of Captain of Lieutenant Styles in the original
Mm.
episodes. You are, but your mustache is not. Carry on. Hmm. A strange example to put in there.
Mm.
He is. Damn it.
Huge, huge.
Huge.
Du-du-du-dun.
Dun dun. Hmm. So Ortega gets very racist in the next 7 years.
Mm.
Hmm.
The music.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's done the exact same way as the original episode.
yeah.
Wait for it.
The eyebrow.
Beat for beat, exactly the way the scene plays out. And I,
Ah, there he is.
it's yourself. Oh. Hmm. And now here's the wild card. So like it's very evident where the deviation in the episodes are. Like,
just a tad.
yeah. Oof.
Look at that.
That's a very motion picture shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's a very small thing as well. I'm going to draw attention to it in the review, but they've recreated the lighting for the Enterprise as well from the original one, where they had the submarine lighting.
Mm.
Subtle, but so fucking well done. One giant disco ball.
I love how he has a pattern called
Yeah.
Tiberius.
So, the fact that he has multiple of them as well. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, aw, look at you in command stripes, huh? Hmm.
Interesting.
Yes, indeed. Like, bye.
Mhm.
And it's not McNullet. Just that air of ill intent that follows the Romulans everywhere. I love it. Mercy, you say. Logical, you say. So again, another slight deviation on the Romulan side as well. He's not dropped down ranks, nor is
Mm,
kind of a slightly different philosophy as well. Again, small touch, but I love that the guys have the helmets.
yeah.
It's just a small little thing. So you remember that she's an Elysian
Mm.
or Illyrian rather. So human augmentations. I'm seeing double. Four captains. I made a human joke. Bye. I'm Kirk. Hmm. Can I go for a walk? Fine.
Now that shuttle looks far too big.
Yeah.
Far too big.
Yeah, we've had this conversation before about perspective. Like they always seem to get it wrong, especially for shuttles.
Hmm.
And here's a very familiar shot, also from the original episode. I was waiting for that response.
Ooh.
Again, the exact same line from the original episode,
Hmm.
which just proves that Scotty is
My
eternal.
my apologies for the screen flare. Had that the sun coming through there.
Yeah, it's all right. It's J.J. Abrams trying to get into this.
Mhm.
Wait for Luke to just go, Alex.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Take his sash away from him. It's too cool for him now. Kirk to the rescue.
Yeah. That's it. Yes, it sounds cool.
And everyone else on the ship is just chill about it. It's like, oh well.
Mhm.
Okay. Again, slightly different from the original episode, but the same thing happens. So
Mhm.
that's still the same.
And that was the mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Because after all, the original episode only had uh, a high noon with one ship, not a battle between armadas. Okay, boy, the shot. And that's the end of the neutral zone. He was still in the tube.
Hmm.
So you remember the husband died
Yeah.
as opposed to the wife in the original episode. But unfortunately, that's not the butterfly effect we're dealing with here.
Mm. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. That's a great little touch there. He doesn't always get the crack jokes nowadays. And gone. There you go. Respecting the canon, even the J.J. Abrams shit. He's just a boy. Look at him. Oh, thank God you're okay. Hmm. Beep. Beep.
Oh.
Hmm. But this is also setting up the what like Spock does in the menagerie, where he risks his career and indeed his life
Mm.
to actually break Pike out and bring him home to the Telosians, as it were. Like it goes without saying, but the season one arc was that especially with the first episode, he was thinking, okay, there must be a way I can get out of this. Like I've got 10 years to work with here, but the reality is, no, no, maybe I shouldn't just get it
Oh.
done. We did get a little tidbit, didn't we? So there you go. And there's your hook for season two, then.
Now I'm so glad that I have waited to
Yeah.
watch that because now that season two has started,
Mm.
I can just go straight into it now.
You can lash your way
So
through now. Exactly.
I'd have
Yeah.
been pissed off. I'd have been pissed
You're
if I would have
raging.
had to wait a
Yeah.
year and a half for me to go.
Mm.
Oh, fucking cliffhanger! Fuck that
Yeah.
shit, man.
Now you know how we
Um,
feel.
yeah, that
Yeah.
I see. I've watched Discovery and I've
Yeah.
watched the first few episodes of this, and this has been really, really good.
Mm.
I think for me, Discovery started good, and then it started to just go downhill from there.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it. First two seasons of Picard were good. Third season was just spectacular.
Mm.
But I have to say that one episode is on par with anything of Picard season three,
Mm.
including, dare I say it, including the reoccurrence of the Enterprise D. I'm like, oh, this is scoring this. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah. This is the kind of the double-edged
Woo!
sword we have now of you coming in blind, because there's going to be a certain level of recency bias, but I think considering that we have been very light on New Trek, considering we've only done a bit of lower decks, we possibly might touch Picard and Discovery in later arcs, but seeing that this is for me, Strange New World is the best Trek out there at the moment. And I'm saying that after watching season two and seeing what they're doing with it. It is absolutely tremendous what they're doing with this show. And it pains me that they're only getting 10 episodes a season, because there's
Yeah.
absolutely enough legroom to give them the full 24 like they used to be back in the day. But
Yeah.
that being said, the reason why it's so good is because they have to condense everything to 10 episodes. They don't have time or the budget essentially to
Yeah.
give like a bottle show. There's no time for bottle shows anymore. You need
If
to
it,
put out the 10 best episodes you can write in a year and go.
if you look at if you compare something like 10 episodes of this to say 24 episodes of Deep Space Nine
Yeah.
or Voyage or even Next Generation, there's only a handful of episodes of those episodes where graphics are unique, music is unique, ships, no new ships coming in, stuff like that. A lot of those episodes are just stock images of the Enterprise flying across the stars or
Yeah.
orbiting a planet and stuff like that. So they were able to do 24 episodes, but every single episode of this show, everything is new, everything is different, different shows. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
different ships, different graphics, different stages. There's only so much money that are going to allow to be used on it, but Jesus, it's fantastic. It really, really is. It does worry me though, because you look at like Discovery kind of at the start was kind of saying, I was like, okay, this is good, and then as I said, it started to go down and down and down. And now they've announced that the next show they're making after Discovery is going to be Starfleet Academy. Now, when you hear that, you think, okay, so we're finally going to get a Kirk era Starfleet Academy. This is great. No, we're getting a 32nd century Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Which seems to be very based around Tilly. So Tilly seems to be the main character of that show. Going by how Discovery season 5 seems to be leaning towards in terms of how that's going to end up, because obviously it must be a wrap up for everyone's kind of stories. So you take it from that. And again, to be fair, like out of all the characters in Discovery, Saru or Tilly would be the ones you probably want to lead that new series if you wanted to go down that route for the continuity's sake.
I don't see it doing well.
Yeah,
people have been screaming, and I do mean screaming, for a next gen era show, or even I dare say Picard era show. They want Legacy or the next best thing next to Legacy. They want to have older characters come back, like Admiral Janeway, like the crew of Voyager, the crew of Deep Space Nine. They want to see these characters back, and a smattering of new characters put in. Like look at Captain Seven now.
Yeah,
like a show with Captain Seven. Fuck, just give it to us. Hook it to my fucking veins. It's a thing where I think they're really dropping the ball here. And you even look at what they did with Prodigy. First season did tremendously well, and now they've pretty much gotten rid of it.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. Make it anymore.
So it's so strange. So strange.
Yeah. But that's a lot. That's a lot to do with Paramount and the kind of dumpster fire they found themselves in. And obviously now you have strikes and so forth going on. That's complicating matters ever more. So yeah, it's a complicated situation for Star Trek at the minute, especially considering that they are just in such a groove right now with the stuff they're bringing out there. As you said, you had Discovery for essentially the Alex Kurtzman vehicle, of like, hey, do you want a whole episode dedicated to Cataclysm? No. Well, fuck you anyway. I'm still gonna do it. Then you got like the more fan servicey stuff like Lower Decks and the Picard series. Then you got something that is actively being new content like Strange New Worlds, and of course if Legacy gets off the road, off the runway, which I think it will, and that's going to be the same thing, because literally you're starting off from essentially 10 years after Nemesis, boom, and away you go to tell us what happens there. And that's not to say there's more, because like this is Star Trek. There are holes in the canon that you could fill at any point. Like we were just literally doing something on the Romulan War there. That has never been told in Star Trek. That was what Enterprise season 5 was meant to be. Yeah. We could still get that. We don't know. Like it's like a lot of the original crew is still there for Enterprise. There's nothing to say that season 5 could happen, could occur.
I think at this stage though, see the problem with that is it's 20 years since
Enterprise. It is. That's the difference. You have to do something clever with that.
I don't think we'll ever see the Romulan War. I think we might see smatterings of it, stuff like that. Yeah, and I wouldn't mind. We saw a little bit there of what possibly we could have been.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that yes, all those actors are still around. They're they're still active. They go to conventions, stuff like that. But you look at even Jonathan Archer. What's his real
Scott Bakula? Yeah,
Scott Bakula. Scott Bakula is 20 years older, and he wasn't exactly like a spring chicken either when they
No,
were doing
he
Enterprise, you
wasn't.
know.
He wasn't.
You know,
Yeah.
so you look at him now; he's in the likes of like a CSI or
NCIS is big. Yeah.
NCIS. That's
Yeah.
and he doesn't look young. You
No.
know, it's like looking at Liam Neeson in action movies nowadays. You're like, Jesus Christ, you're gonna break a hip.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and I do love like Scott Bakula was I loved him. You know, Quantum Leap, and then in
Mm.
Enterprise, the little callback they did with his friend from Quantum Leap in
Yes.
Enterprise. That was
That was
fantastic.
lovely. Yeah.
You know, it's a thing for me. Is like I would absolutely love to see this, but I don't think it would work.
Mm.
A flashback or some sort of timey-wimey thing where we get like say an episode of a President Archer.
Yeah,
You know,
but
I'd like to
that's
see
what I'm
that.
saying. Like you can, like I said, a season 5 does not necessarily meant to be a direct sequel. What it can be, it is a continuation of the story as he left it. So, like as I said, like if there's 20 years, you do what you did with Picard. You can drive a reason for everyone to still be in the same realm. Again, I think there's certainly a big drive on the production standpoint to bring Tucker back into main canon as opposed to killing him off really cheaply in a fucking holodeck episode. I think we're all accepting on that.
Yeah.
I think there's a push backstage to give DePaul a fair shift because like after a while she just became the over sexualized Vulcan who, like, let's be honest, we've moved past shit like that now, you know. The same way that we want to see how Archer sets up the Federation, how he leads the Federation, all this sort of stuff, where he is in that kind of presidential situation.
Exactly.
But it's a reason to give Robert April something to do. It's a reason to give, well, the time difference doesn't work out there, but you got people you can bring in, new characters in that 100-year like gap. That's a space.
You
the
could
Enterprise B era is another one.
There's another Enterprise B and C.
And C, absolutely.
You know, B&C.
That's a 150-year gap in its own right. Or 100-year gap, I think it is.
100-year gap, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. So look, you got that then. Like you have all of the Enterprise B to work with. You have stuff with Captain Sulu you can do as well if you want to give Sulu another opportunity to do stuff. Then you got the Enterprise C. You can completely do something different with Rachel Garrett and go with a different story for her. And again, you can lean into the fact that like maybe like they do have to accept their fate in certain respects. Imagine yesterday's Enterprise from their point of view. That would be fascinating as an episode.
Imagine that as their finale. That would be their finale.
Yeah.
That would be the end of the show.
It'd be like this episode here, where you know exactly what's happened. There's an inevitability of it. But when we have invested so much in the characters at that stage, when you have to say a recasted Rachel Garrett and Lieutenant Castillo and everyone else at that stage, you have a Tasha Yar coming in as well, and it just seems like everything's kind of like conversing onto one. That is a beautiful way to end that series. But again, these are all hypotheticals, and even after that, like you have, well, Discovery is kind of the end point of the canon now at this stage, so you've got a lot of space to work with here, you know. But we are getting something. Like I said, this is, but Star Trek Strange New Worlds is the standing example of what Star Trek has to be if you're going to be the not mascot, but the actual the advertising for Star Trek now.
Yeah,
you know, Lower Decks, Picard, all these different shows are for very particular parts of the fan base. Where Strange New Worlds is a thing you can stand up and say, "Here's our new Star Trek," and this is when it's done well.
Yeah.
And again, I can say that because you haven't watched the second season yet. Myself and Kira are up to date with it. It is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. There's no way to move with it. So by all means, get onto it as soon as we fucking log off here, because Jesus Christ, it is, you hear from the gallery there. It's crucial that you do. It is fucking important that you do. Anyway, so before we get to our review, we have some quick business to deal with, which is, now we don't have any new starships here because what we've seen are technically redos of what we have already. So we have our the updated Romulan Brother Prey. The design hasn't changed that much.
Nope.
The Enterprise still looks as absolutely spectacular as it always has, especially now with the redo. And then a few of the kind of like the generic Romulan ships we didn't quite get a good look at, so we'll have to leave them as is. We have a lot of guest stars. I'll rush through them very quickly because they're all one and dones, which is very much a case sometimes with New Trek. So starting off, we have Ali Hassan, who played Commander Hansen Al Salah, who we saw in both Flash Forward and in recent in current timeline. So he's an actor and comedian. Funny enough, he's a stand-up comedian, born in Canada. And if you are looking for him in other works, you can see him in the likes of Designated Survivor. And he's also had guest roles on Murdoch Mysteries and Hudson and Rex, a couple of other things as well. I suppose like combination of the two things. You might know him as for his stand-up, or you might know him as kind of the guest roles as well.
Yeah.
But obviously with the new Trek, he is a one and done in that sense. Hansen El Salat himself is a stand-in for the commander on Outpost 4 in the Balance of Terror. So we're going to be drawing comparisons to a lot of the cast from that episode in this. So he's a stand-in for that. And again, for the life of me, I can't remember who the name of that person was, but it wasn't El Salat anyway, because again, Stranger Worlds have been very, very good in diversifying legacy characters, which comes up later on in these guest stars. So, next up then is his son, who is played by Chris River, also Canadian. He plays a character Mahat Al Salah as well, and he is the son of an actress, Shiva Safari, as well. His stage name is Chris River, but his surname is actually Navid. So it's Chris Navid is his actual name. Child actor, as you can assume, and no other acting credits to speak of at the moment, or at least certainly not in the Star Trek realm at the very least. I think he has found himself in certain things like he's in the Expanse, as a matter of fact, and he's been in a couple of he's actually in The Boys, funny enough, as a background character, and I think he's in the remake of Arthur as the character Samir, voice acting.
Okay.
So yeah, he's in a couple of things, but obviously, like in terms of Star Trek, very much a one and done. Next up, then we have so now we're trying to trace back then to the characters that have been replaced. So we have Ian Rayburn, who is playing the character Robert Tomlinson. He is the husband who's getting married at the moment. So he was played initially by Stephen Mines, so this obviously the flip we have from the two timelines is that Tomlinson is the one who gets killed during the Romulan incident, as opposed to his wife Angela Martin, I think it is. So that kind of goes without saying. So Ian Rayburn himself is obviously an actor, but some of his other credits, hilarious enough, he is in. He's actually if I'm not mistaken, actually. Yes, he is a wrestler.
Oh.
Yes, he is. He makes an appearance in Shooting the Indies, because I can see him here doing death matches, which is interesting.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, he does mostly directing, actually, going by what I can see here. Yeah, that's interesting, as it turns out. But he would be known for shorts like My Friend Wally and a couple of other things, Days, which is recently released, and Time to Make Friends. So if you know him from them, that would be the case. But yeah, he wrestled in his spare time under that name, if I'm not mistaken, as Ian Rayburn. Yeah, so there's a fun fact for you.
Interesting.
Seems to be more of a deathmatch kind of guy, to go on by the promo pictures I'm seeing here.
Crazy bastard. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. I see. It's from yeah. I can see where he's getting this from. But yeah, that's what his stick is. So next up then is his would-be wife, which is Angela Martin. This time played by Mega Sandhu, who is an actress and model. Again, another Canadian. A lot of Canadians in the production for Stranger Worlds, because I think they shoot mostly in Toronto, I want to say, as far as I can recall. She was actually crowned Miss Teenage Canada in 2012. She's a dancer, and she does classical, and she also does Indian classical dance as well. And her other acting credit prior to Star Trek was in the comedy An Ice Wine, which was a Lifetime comedy. And she's in a couple of other things since. Mainly would be the film Arranged Marriage, which is an indie film. And I think she is in the upcoming Painkiller series as well. She's in Hudson and Rex as well, and as well as a lot of TV movies, as it seems. So yeah, Painkiller and Hudson and Rex is probably where you know her from in that regard. But again, Angela Martin would survive in the prime timeline, but in this alternate one, she is the one to die in that. But that is not the instance we're worried about here in this one. So next up then is Matthew Bourassa, who in this iteration played the character Theseus. He is the sub-commander on the Romulan cruiser. So again,
I know his face.
Yeah, you probably will know him from what would be the best place you'd know him from? Probably from let's see. Air Crash Investigations, Murdoch Mysteries, Designated Survivor.
Designated Survivor.
Yes, so he's one of the HRT agents in Designated Survivor,
Yeah.
and he's also in the movie Taken as well, or
Okay.
the TV series Taken, because I forgot there was a series as well. So, so yeah, you'll see him on them as well, amongst a couple of other like cameos as well. So yeah, so he's the same again as he was a writer and a producer as well, but in this instance here, he's acting as Decius, for this redo of the Bands of Terror. Similarly, his counterpart, I suppose that would be the stand-in for Mark Leonard here, is played by Matthew McFadden. He plays the Romulan commander, who I know was named in a beta canon, but I can't remember off the top of my head. It was an anagram of Sarek, but I can't pick it off the top of my head. So he plays the Romulan commander here, and a very familiar face. You would know him from a couple of things. Rabbit Hole is probably his most recent work. He's in The Handmaid's Tale as one of the doctors. He's in the Hardy Boys, that was put out this past year, and he's in a couple of other things. Let's say as where would we know him from? Probably yeah. So Rabbit Hole would be the big one. He's Officer Reed in Transplant in that series. He's also in Designated Survivor as Tim Beck. And he's also a voice actor as well in a couple of games such as Assassin's Creed Unity. You would probably see him as well in Suits. He's Nick Howell in Suits, and he is Eddie in Rookie Blue rather. So yeah, so he's a busy boy to say the least. So you probably know him from a couple of other things as well. The prosthetics kind of gives away that he is a redhead, so so it hides that in a sense. So there's hope for you yet, Jerry. You can still make it as a Romulan if you want to.
You never know.
You never know, exactly. So yeah, he's standing for the commander, who would have been Mark Leonard back in the day. So yeah, that's then. Now we're on to the Praetor, who is played this time by Caroline Scott. Now, the Praetor, I don't think made an appearance in the original episode. I could be mistaken.
I don't think so. That was a bit of a shock to me. It was like the Praetor is actually there, and the Praetor is one trying to declare war. I'm like, that's fucking mental.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of the interesting thing about it is that, well, I suppose that was the deviation as well, but the whole fucking Romulan fleet was called because the skirmish that was in that Kirk had in his set was kind of seen almost it was more contained in a very roundabout way. But yeah, that seems to be the case there. I suppose like it maybe I don't know if she was meant to be the stand-in for the old guy who dies on the ship, because we didn't have that in this iteration. But as I said, we don't know how many like deviations were in the timeline from that. So in terms of her other work, so Caroline Scott is the actress who plays the Praetor. So she has been in tons of projects, like her career started in 1986. So it's a lot bit of longevity at this stage. War of the Worlds, you'll see her in Goosebumps, Monk, Queer as Folk, Heartland, and a few movies as well, mostly TV movies. So none really that stands out as sort of a TV episode editions. In terms of outright movies, she's in Police Academy 4. And she's also a voice actress as well. She's been in shows like Arthur and Cyber Chase, to name but a few. Some of her more recent works would be Condor and the Lake, for anyone who's looking for her recent works. So yeah, that's how you know her from there. Now we move on then to two of the legacy characters that Strange New Worlds have thrown in for the continuity. So first off, we have Lieutenant Kyle, who you remember was kind of the English guy in the original series. So he was like typically the transporter chief whenever they kind of turned to him. And so he is still the transporter chief in this iteration, but he's now played by Andre Day Kim, who is a fairly young actor in his own right, also Canadian. There's a lot of Canadians in this show. Holy fuck. Yeah. So he is also known as Winston Chu in Degrassi, that TV show as well. So yeah, like as I said, like they've done a good work in kind of diversifying the cast of of different characters. They use the names essentially from the original series and just give them a new character and recast them in a sense. And where else would you probably know him from? You'd probably know him from, again, the likes of Private Eyes, Hudson and Rex, and the Hardy Boys. You can kind of see they're like Canadian productions, and they use the same kind of people over and over again. So that's kind of where they're. I suppose it's the proverbial Roddenberry Rolodex, isn't it? It's just like, how many people can I find? Take 3 from the top and nowhere else. So he's now the Lieutenant Cole in this, and he features quite a bit in season 1 of Strange New Worlds, as I recall. Next up then is so you remember the second pilot of Strange New of the original series was Where No Man Has Gone Before. That's the one where like Kirk's best mate Gary Mitchell becomes essentially an ESP infused god, essentially a deity. So Gary Mitchell is now Jenna Mitchell in this series, and she is now played by Rong Fu, who born in China, but she is a Canadian citizen, and she has
fucking
been in
Canadians.
Oh, I'm fucking telling you, man, honestly. So she's been in a lot of guest roles up to this point. So she was in Warehouse 13, Rookie Blue, Hudson and Rex again, and she is in the romantic comedy series Hello. I think it's Hello Again, I think it is, to give the full name. But like I said, she's also in the TV series of Beauty and the Beast as well. She's one of the nurses in that. So yeah, you probably know her from that. You can see that a lot of the kind of the cast from this are in the same kind of shows as is tradition with Star Trek. But she seems to be the new Gary Mitchell, which is interesting. It's not really described if she is a relation to Gary or she is the new Mitchell. But like I said, this is where like Strange New Worlds applies to taking the surnames and just like taking them whole meal into their show and just give them new characters. So same with like Babs Owushikun, Babs Olumesakun is now Dr. Mbenga, and you have now Erica Ortegas, who was like Lieutenant Ortegas in the pilot, who's a man. Now he's been recasted as a wonderful Melissa Reddy, who's just fucking excellent. And then you have now Mitchell and Kyle and a couple of other names starting to be reused, and of course the famous Nurse Chapel as well. So good bit of continuity there, and it's nice to see them. It'd be interesting to see do their roles change over time. Like, do the likes of Mitchells and Kyles actually get more speaking roles? Did you become part of the main bridge crew, stuff like that? You know, they've got time to work with going by canon. So in any case, that is all of our guest roles we have to deal with, and now it's time for our review. So we don't have much time to simmer on this one in terms of because you haven't seen this episode before, so this is very fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
I haven't taken down any notes for this either because I kind of want to get in the same headspace as you for this one. So we start as we always do with our 10 points, and we start off with the plot. So how did you find the plot? Because again, I have watched this episode before. I knew what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And I can give my original thoughts at the time, but I'd like to hear how you felt this episode progressed.
I'm actually going to start with the score.
Okay, you're going to start with the score. Okay.
I'm going to go with a solid 10.
Really? For the 10?
Solid 10.
Wow, okay.
Number one is it brings to the forefront a retelling of one of the best episodes of the original series. Absolutely. But brings it to a modern day twist. It basically also, it's that the whole idea is that he has been for an entire season trying to figure out how he can change his fate. And the fate, but it's not only just about him. It's about him and trying to save the cadets that are there as well. He's not totally selfish. He obviously just wants to save, doesn't just want to save his life, wants to save others. And this is now brought to the forefront. Okay, if you do actually save yourself and the cadets, this is the shit that's going to happen. And for him, like, even when you're looking at near the end when he's speaking to himself again, the decision, and it really brings it back to the what's that Vulcan saying? The needs of the few. The
needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
And there's an argument to see that he actually was taking Kirk's idea of that himself, is that the needs of the one outweigh
I
the
really
needs of
needs
the
in a
many,
many, yeah.
because he heard that millions of people died in the Romulan War. But when he actually heard that no matter what he did, if he saved himself, Spock was going to have his
Also,
fate,
yeah.
that he wanted to save Spock rather than himself. But he was essentially choosing Spock. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to save Spock. I don't really give a shit about the millions. I'm going to save Spock. It brings it to Kirk's the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. So for me, plot absolutely amazing. People will argue, oh, it's literally just a copy of Balance of Terror. It's not. It takes a little bit of Balance of Terror, brings it to a modern twist, and shows you what could have happened if nothing had happened to Pike and he was still the captain. And this is what would have happened. There would have been a decades-long war with the Romulans that cost millions of lives and was still ongoing. So absolutely fantastic plot. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, like I would say, I don't know if anyone kind of like, I'm gonna agree with you on 10 for the plot, because I think just as a premise alone, it is absolutely fabulous. It's the Star Trek's take on the Marvel What If series for me. Like, this is, we've had hypothetical episodes before, like, what happens if the Voyager crashes this, and we've had time to stuff like this. We haven't had the two together, where we have a jump into the future, into an era that we are very, very aware of. Therefore, logically, if you count Spock into this, we have to go with territory that we know. And what better way than to take an episode that is famously celebrated as one of the best ones in Balance of Terror? It's the Romulan episode. It's a submarine drama. It's the one that people it's one of the 4 or 5 Star Trek episodes that people remember as being absolutely exceptional. Like, we reviewed already, and we were waxing lyrical over it. It was amazing. But as you said, it is not a copy of Balance of Terror.
No,
far
not
from
at all.
it.
Not at all.
It alludes to it. There are certain the story beats are the same, and that's the critical part here. The scenario still plays out the same way it should, except for those crucial little decisions where they're almost kind of played off in the original in Balance of Terror, where they're kind of like, still, no matter what happens, despite the tension, despite the tension and the high risk situation, they always seemed a bit in control. And in the same way, Pike and co always feel in control, except for that little X factor. And as we'll talk about in other categories, the X factor were people that were in positions they shouldn't have been, which is a crucial part of it. So again, yes, it's alluding to a something that's already happened, that we think, oh, they just like copied the script. No, what they've done is they've copied the script, but they've taken a couple of things out so that you know that they're taken out. That's the key thing there. So yes, absolutely 10 out of 10 plots. And again, it ties up the kind of moral quandary that Pike has had over the season, where, like, what's the point of even doing this fucking starship stuff? What's the point of me going back into space even? Because again, the season starts off with him on horseback with a beard, hiding out in the fucking cabin. Like, he doesn't want to be out there anymore, But like I said, this is the end of that kind of arc, essentially, and sets him up then for season 2, where it's kind of like, as you'll see, it's whatever happens. So then we have settings then. So it goes without saying, but the actual the recreation of the Enterprise is phenomenal in this. They have not overdone it like Discovery have done with with their ship. It's not overdone, or it's not constantly repeated like in Picard, where you have the Titan looks a bit like the Stargaze and the Stargaze looks a bit like La Sirena. They have worked on recreating the set and giving it the HD remake, in the same way that the door is slightly off center with the rest of the bridge, and her is like in a little box compared to everyone else.
I have never liked Discovery's bridge. I found Discovery's bridge was far too big. For a ship of its size, it's far too big. The bridge was fucking huge, and it was ridiculous looking.
Yeah, it's far too clean.
Far too big. Like, exactly. Yeah. You look at Enterprise's bridge. You look at that and you compare it to the old one. It's just a slightly bigger, cleaner, newer version of it, and it looks fantastic. It's kind of like they've taken the original bridge, mashed it together with a little bit of the Kelvin timeline, and that's what you've come up with. I'm like, I dig this. This is really nice. Then you look at as well the Romulan bridge, and the Romulan bridge again an updated, slightly cleaner but yet darker version
It
of the
was
original
so
bridge.
boxy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I'm like, yeah, and
Mm.
it's always that green hue. Love the green hue from the Romulans. Absolutely love it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I have to go 10 again because it really is this. Oh Christ.
Oh, we're in trouble here, aren't
Oh, we're
we?
in trouble. Yeah, we are in trouble here.
Yeah, but that's the saying. Like again, this is our first time reviewing Strange New Worlds, but this is an episode where it really rewards itself for keeping things looking the way it does, and this will come into more categories for me as well because a few things I want to point out. But as I said, this is an episode where you want to keep things looking the same way they did back then, because then the differences actually they stand out more. So even one thing, even for the setting, is the Jeffries tube that Spock is working on. Like, that is the same scene as in the original series, where he's faffing about with tubes and trying to fucking make things every work. And you have then it's like a very witty fucking Scottishman telling him to that fucking work a bit faster, you cunt. You know, like he can't, like that's pretty much the same like scene. And the same way,
Yeah.
as I said, the Romulan setup is the same way. And Pike's quarters, the ready room, all this sort of stuff. There's so much set dressing done and so many different things. And again, season 2 is the same thing. There's something in the corner that is deliberately meant for hardcore fans to see every single time. It's like, there it is, they're fucking thinking of us again. And it's all different bits and pieces like that, you know. But yeah, it's absolutely fabulous work. It's the same kind of philosophy. It is old but new. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Next up then we have is the writing. So as I said, we're retracing old territory, but we're doing certain things to make things different. So one positive I had from this is, and again, this is sound very counterintuitive, especially for someone like writing like myself, the fact that it did recycle lines from the original episodes, pretty much beat for beat in some aspects, especially the speech from the Romulan commander at the end, where it says, "In a different timeline, we could have been friends." That is, his little speech is exactly the same as what Mark Leonard delivered almost 60 years ago, beat for beat, absolutely perfect. And again, that is also the point, because that stuff stays the same. Like, he dies in that situation. There's no saving him. There's no the reveal of the Romulans looking similar to Vulcans. That stays the same. There's certain things that are always fait accompli in these timelines, but the things that are different. And I love the way the episode is paced in a certain way to emphasize those changes, where like you're like rattling through the story to a little bit, then it slows down a little bit, and there's your change. The camera is pointing towards, look at this, is not meant to be here. You know, like the Farragut arriving in when it does. That they never arrived in the original. And likewise, there wasn't a fleet battle and stuff like this, you know, because the little exchange between Pike and the Romulans are going, oh, this is all going well, and then suddenly the fucking Armada show up. It's like, okay, that's different. That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So the writing is done to set up the changes, and I really, really like that.
Yeah.
And the exchange between future and past Pike were excellent too. So again, this is a high category for me. I don't really see any major criticisms in that respect. The only thing I would say is that the ending does kind of take away from the rest of the episode, because it is just a setup for season 2. That's all it is. It's a hook. So I'm kind of inclined to go 9.5 for this, just solely because like the hook doesn't match with the rest of the episodes. The rest of the episode is perfect in of itself, but the last scene is not intended for this episode. It is for the hook for next season, the cliffhanger, and it's a bit cheap in hindsight.
I'll go 9.5 with you. For the simple fact is, I can't fault your reasoning at all. I don't want to be scoring this as high as it's scored, because I could just see what's about to happen. I'm like, oh God, oh no, oh no. And now I was dead certain a different episode was going to be higher. I didn't think after 3 categories so far we would have 29.5 after 3 categories.
We are on the same trajectory. We are on a trajectory here. So yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, okay, which category can I sabotage this and score it a 1?
Well, you already gave score a 10, so you're already fucked there.
I've fucked.
Yeah. So
okay.
So let's talk about acting then. So
this is another 10. Like, well, come on, like.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So you have we'll focus on certain people here. I think that's the key thing. The first thing has to be about Anson Mount,
Absolutely.
who again, if we had more time in this episode, we would be waxing lyrical about how amazing he is as Captain Pike. And to be absolutely honest with you, this cast that they have for Strange New Worlds is phenomenal. They have absolutely picked the best people for this show. I don't think they even realize how lucky they are to have the likes of Melissa Navia, Celia Rose Gooding, Jess Bush, Ethan Peck as Spock. They are blessed to have these people on cast. And I haven't even mentioned Christina Chong and Rebecca Romaine and all these really phenomenal names they have. And then at the drop of a hat, here's a guest star, here's a guest star, here's a guest star. Oh, here's new Captain Kirk, here's Paul Wellesley. You'll remember him when he was a vampire. We'll just throw that in now just for the end as well for the crack.
Fucking vampire.
So all these different things are now in the show. They have got such a melting pot of talent, of actual tangible talent here, and they can do anything they want with this, and they do in season 2, believe me. But in terms of this episode alone, the big positives are Anson Mount himself, because again he has to act both confused and then jaded in 2 different aspects, and then also has to be himself in that moment in time for when he's in the flash forward. So he has a whole raft of emotions to go through. Again, he is the kind of quite stoic captain, so he's not showing very visible emotion. It's a lot of subtleties, a lot of nuance. That can go well for you, sometimes it doesn't. I think it works for this episode here. Spock very rigid, very Vulcan the way he is. Ortegas is the stand-in for Styles in this episode, and she's not a negative herself. The Melissa Navia is not a negative, but the way she is written, she is a means to an end. Essentially, she is just there to be Romulans, and there's only so much you can do when you're doing that role. So it's a bit of it takes away from her, considering she's just a wisecracking smartass through the entire season, and then she's suddenly just really bitter for reasons, so that doesn't really work for me. And then we have Paul Wesley. So this is your first time seeing the new Captain Kirk. What was your initial thoughts on him? Just as an incidental question here.
I think people they'll look at it and go, "Oh, that's not Captain Kirk." At the end of the day, this was an alternate timeline Captain Kirk. So there was at the end of the day, let's be perfectly honest, he was a young captain. So the original Kirk, Shatner, was a young captain. This is a young captain. I'd imagine that when he got made captain of the Enterprise, which is the flagship of the Federation, he got a bit of a big head. Whereas this is a different guy. This is he's still a captain of a ship, but it's not the Enterprise. It's not a flagship. It's a much smaller ship. He's still the kind of cocky, overly confident. Let's shoot first, ask questions later type situation.
He's ballsy,
but he's still not the same Kirk as the original one, and there is subtle little differences there. Really, really good. I like his look. I think he looks like a Kirk. He really, really, really does. He looks like a Kirk. He sounds like Kirk. Like even coming back with all those ships, and he's like, look what I did, type of thing.
Yeah, he is so delighted with himself.
That's so good. I was like, good. For me, kind of, he is, even though he's not in the whole thing, he's a standout in it. Obviously, Pike is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal in this episode. But the Pike Kirk kind of friendship that grows from it, they didn't see eye to eye at the start, and then by the end of the episode, you're like, right, okay, they've become friends. Let's sit down and, where are you from? I'm from Iowa, but I only work in outer space. I know he didn't say that, but that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then he walks over and touches the crystal, and he's back. I'll go a 9 on this one.
Yeah.
I'll go a 9 on this.
Like again, it's unfair to mark negatively on Ortegas here, but like I said, she was filling a specific role, and that was it, I think that was essentially it there for that one. So yeah, I think 9 is a fair shout, because everyone else just knocks it out of the park in that one. Next up then is the action. So we have a space battle we have explosions and fire galore and all these different things. Now, action is easy to do in New Trek for me because you have the ability of CGI. You
It's
have
full of it. Yeah.
It's full of it, exactly. Now, so with that in mind, I'm taking points away from having another fucking ship battle, like armada battle. This happens a lot in New Trek, where every fucking season finale has to have the fucking the Tears of the Prophet style fucking final battle, and it's getting a little bit annoying. You know,
Oh,
yeah, for me,
oh
it is for
dear.
me. Yeah, it
Oh
is. I think
dear.
because like there are other season finales are available. Like you could have kept this contained. And now I know this time they're doing it to make the finale look different, but it is also a little bit of New Trek going, oh, I can't help myself. Let's just put all the ships everywhere and fucking do everything. You know. So like in the space of a year when this comes out, you have Star Trek Picard season 2 having big ship-wide battle. Oh, here comes the big Borg Jurati ship. It's gonna get us. And even before then, you have the season 1. Oh, copy paste fleet. Let's get them fucking in there. And Lower Decks had something a lot more contained. Thankfully, they kind of controlled themselves in that one. But season 2 had a similar kind of like cataclysmic moment that they had. And Discovery, let's not even fucking go there. Because like we had season fucking 3, and oh, suddenly all the ships are fine now. Fuck off. So yeah, everything has to have a big end of like big civil war moment where everything assembles and we all fucking kill Thanos or whatever the fuck goes on in that show. So that takes. You see my point though, that you try and take notes from Marvel and try and do the same thing. It's like, no, you're Star Trek, do your own thing. You don't need to copy everything. But so I do take a point away for that. I suppose the only other criticism I have is actually Outpost 4, where I think in the original episode the guy literally just gets engulfed in flames as opposed to the big kind of blowout, and he does the whole like space, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of took me out of it a little bit, where like if you wanted to really get over like, oh fuck, this guy's like engulfed in plasma flames, just have him explode in flame. That's the way you do it, because that was how they did it in the original, where it was just like, again, with the budget, they had sparks, smoke, and you get the idea. Whereas in this now, you didn't have to do the big like comic blowout into space. You could have him literally be fucking engulfed in plasma and burnt alive.
I have to say I agree with you there, but it's more so a different category that I will address that part.
Fine.
In terms of this though, I would disagree with you in terms of big space battles, because I live for them.
I do too.
I absolutely live for them. I have spent many a night till 2 or 3 in the morning watching various different space battles, and we're talking about fleet engagements, proper fleet engagements, from anywhere from Babylon 5, and they have had some spectacular fleet battles, to Star Trek and beyond, you know, Star Wars and whatnot. So, you know, I can't fault him for that, but I do understand why you would take points away from that. Absolutely. It wasn't overly action packed, but either was the likes of what we have as current number 1. There wasn't a lot of action in that, and it still scored pretty high.
Very true.
Because
it's all about pacing.
Because of the tension. And that's what happened in that one. For me, in this one, you know, the action was good. We got to see the first iteration of Romulan plasma torpedoes, and they are, you know, a terrifying thing. You know, you look at various different weapons in Star Trek. This would be one of the most scary ones, but simply because they're so powerful. It ripped through the Farragut with one shot, damn near destroyed it completely. Ripped through the Enterprise shields like they weren't even there. Destroyed a fucking outpost. That was, and as the guy said, they were a mile deep on the asteroid, and they blew the fucking asteroid up. So you know, you can't fault it too much. What score though are you going to give it though? I
was flickering between 7 and 8. That's where I was kind of situated on for it. Because I'm also kind of qualifying that like for the next 2 or 3 categories, like setting, like when you have a budget, it's easy to do setting, like action and effects, because you know what works and you know what people want. So it's easy to do those 3 things. I think it's harder in some aspects to do certain categories, so I need to judge them a bit differently. You know, if the Anza Terror had a budget you can bet your ass they're gonna like have everything explode, kind
Yeah,
of way. But they have to do
I
what they need to do.
I will go with 7 on this one.
Okay.
I like to have more. You're saying less is more. I like more is more. Just give me all, give
That's
me all
fine.
the action. Give
That's
me all the
fine.
action.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll go with 7 with you on this. Absolutely.
Okay. Understandable. So next up then is the effects. So again, I'm qualifying that it is easy to do a lot of these things with the extra like kind of grunt you have now in the budget.
Yeah.
But I will give out my positives here. The
Yeah.
uniforms.
Uniforms, fantastic.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Like, who would have thought that just having little deltas all along the uniform would be amazing? And as nice as the normal Strange New Worlds Enterprise uniform is,
Yeah.
as soon as you see Future Pike, you're like,
oh, the monster maroon.
and people. I remember seeing, because I'd seen this,
Yeah.
from certain things. I'd seen this before, and I said, "Oh, that looks good." I said, "But it doesn't look like, original series movie uniform." I said, "It doesn't look the same." I said, "He's kind of fucked up there." It's not supposed to be.
Yes.
Because it's a different future, and I'm like, makes sense now, and I'm like, I'd actually prefer one of those to the originals.
Here's my comparison with that, right? We are very closely reviewing yesterday's Enterprise on this series in a couple of weeks, in a couple of episodes time, and people always forget that the uniforms are different in that episode. Like when you remember the first time, you're just remembering your traditional getup. But no, what they've done is it is a hard shell around. Yeah. Like it is a hard collar here.
There's no white. There's no white around. That's the very first thing you notice.
Yes.
In that episode, as soon as you see that uniform, the white collar, the white ribbed collar is gone.
And
exactly. And it is different. And you also see it when Picard is wearing the uniform.
Yes.
As well, and then you see it when Wesley Crusher's father, the hologram, is wearing the uniform. No whiting around there. So clearly, they were trying to go from the original series into kind of the BC era, and then into the D, and that was the natural progression.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this particular uniform in this episode, my God, like it. You don't hear me say this very often about clothes, but that was sexual.
But that's it. But it looks like a military uniform, like it does in the movies. The movies are meant to be a take on your kind of Navy style admiral's kind of uniform where there's a lot of pieces to it, but it looks Navy. It looks naval inspired. Like I said, I'm using yesterday's Enterprise as a comparison because the uniform is the same. It's just tweaked enough to look a bit more combative. Like it's meant to say, like, well, this like it's up to your neck because, well, you got batlets to deal with in this alternate universe, so you need neck protection in the same way that you need an actual belt. So you need to be armed at all times. Small things like that, but again, they put a big fuck off silver belt so that you can see it. Likewise, in this one, it's not exactly the Monster Maroon one because there's a bit of leeway on the neck. You can actually kind of like, it looks comfortable, the Monster Maroon. Pike looks stuffed in this. Like he is outright fucking like jammed.
He looks good though. He looks like he's been poured into it. I'm like, yeah, baby.
Yeah. But again, the effects, well, the aging makeup is so well done.
Oh, it looks good because it makes makes him look a bit darker in terms of he's a bit more haunted looking.
Yes, that's all it needed to be.
He's got more white in the hair. You look at Anson Mount's
sideburns,
sideburns. You look at his when he's a young Pike, and they've kind of still got a little bit of dark in them, whereas the older one, white.
Yes,
white. A bit of a streak of dark over here, but it looks fantastic. Absolutely. So there's a lot of positives in this category.
Yeah.
Okay. And we could literally talk about them all night. I want to talk about the giant fucking elephant in the room. And we're going to go back to what we were speaking about a minute ago. He's like, you're talking about when they destroyed the asteroid. The actual destruction of the asteroid, the explosion. Fantastic. Looks amazing. The actual view screen of the captain or commander, wherever he was, getting blown up and blown into space. I'm sorry, but that was fucking awful. It was awful. It wasn't a little bit bad. It was awful. And I think if this is the only real criticism I have about this episode, but it was bad. Like we have seen like even in this episode, there were explosions on the Enterprise, explosions on the Farragut. You see everything that happens in sick bay and all that happens there. Even the explosion of the Romulan bridge as they're getting blown up was brilliant.
Yeah.
How did they get so wrong with the destruction of the outpost? I mean, it was second rate CGI. It was terrible. So I'm scoring it a 1. No, no, I'm not.
Nice try. Nice try. Yeah.
I'm not going to score it 1
Well,
because
you're right though. We have to have different standards for these categories.
We have to. But
yeah.
For the simple fact is they have the budget for these things, and you look at every other bit of screen time that we've had. I've watched the other episodes in this season. There was nothing bad in terms of CGI, in terms of graphics. How they got this one particular, and you're talking 2 or 3 seconds.
It
was so bad though. I just couldn't give this category a 9 or a 10. It's going to have to be a 7 to an 8.
Yeah,
I can't go any higher. The Monster Maroon, amazing. Everything to do with the Enterprise, the Romulan ship, the Farragut, sickbay, all of that, fantastic. But it was so blatantly bad that I just can't. So I'm leaning more to a 7 than I am an 8. But I'll go with what you.
I was going to say 7.5 because, as you said, I took points away in action for this one, so you're kind of taking the same as the effects here. As I said, it's very easy to get these 2 categories right when you have the money you have now with Star Trek, and the technology as well has improved so much that this is now expected for Star Trek. Look at Picard and again, here's a comparison. Here's a comparison just using Picard alone, right?
Yeah.
What looks more like Star Trek if you have, again, I'll use Picard this time, so I'm not like shitting on Discovery all the time. But in this first season of Picard, it's like literally fleet battle, boom, 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 everything, all this stuff. Whereas in season 3, you have the Titan and the ship I can't remember, the Shrike. Coming in, and they are moving slowly, tactically, because they're meant to. They're fucking massive. They're not fucking sneaky little tadpoles here. They are moving like slow ships because that's what they're supposed to. And the fact is,
so good.
And again, it's for people who understand how to put Star Trek together, as opposed to the fucking amateurs like some people, Alex Kurtzman. You have because when the ships are moving that slowly, that's when the music swells, and that's when you get the allusion to something from the Wrath of Khan, let's say, where there's a ship looming to the back. That's when everything comes together. It's a concerted effort. So, as you said, certain things take that away. I'm still giving points back for the plasma being recreated perfectly from the original, and they recreated the submarine lighting from the original series as
Fantastic,
yeah. Very obvious in the original, but subtly done in this one, where the bridge is naturally darker because obviously they're in a comet field, so the light is obscured, but it's doing it in a certain way where it's getting the same effect, where the tension is coming in from the lighting. But as I said, that one moment where El Salah is getting sucked out into space is
you expect a higher standard. Yeah, we're 2023. I'm sorry, it's 2023. You expect to have better CGI. The fact that all the CGI that led up to this one episode was fantastic, and in this, I'm sorry, it was shite.
Yeah,
I can't say it I was so bad, so I had to lower on.
That's fine. That's fine.
We'll see how the rest of these categories go.
Exactly. We have now. And you're satisfied with your 10 for score?
Oh, score.
Yes. Oh, sorry. You know what? Never mind. So we're not there yet. No, we're not there yet. No, we are at this category now. So we talk about the music then. So as I said, this is something where, like, because you have access to basically an orchestra whenever you want it now, you're able to do stuff like this. However, I am still scoring this category high because of the allusions to the original series, to the illusions of the music. So, Jerry, take it away. What was your main takeaways from the score here?
The score right at the very beginning. And I said it right at the very start. I was like, oh my God, listen to that music.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, it didn't go all the right way through the episode. And I would have liked to see that. I would have liked to hear that, because it is the score. You can't fault the score, though, because it really, really was good. I'm sorry, it was really, really good. it was those, the subtle little callbacks, as you say. Um, but I wanted more.
Mm,
It was fantastic right at the start, and the certain little things were done. Um, but just for me, I was like, I wanted that little bit more. Now, listen, I'm not going to be taking major points or anything off this just because of that, because the music was good. When it comes to Strange New Worlds, it's a different score every episode. It's the same with
yeah.
Picard. That's what I like about New Trek. Every
Hmm.
episode's different. It's not just a literally copy and paste music
Yeah.
that you get from the other shows. But I think this needed more. There was a little bit more tension in this episode, and it
Mm,
needed to be recognized that was more tension. And you normally get that with the music. Unfortunately, we didn't get it with this. But I can't fault it. When Kirk comes in with the ships, the nice score, I was like, yeah, that's this. Yeah, yeah.
it's the Romulan sting for me. Is that,
Yeah,
and again, like we always, a lot of people remember that sting for the Mirror Universe sting, but no, if you actually look back at it, this is the Romulan theme music. This is what you always hear. It was
yeah,
used in Picard quite well to reflect, like, oh, Romulan Borg, end episode.
yeah,
But you had, like, for this one is where it's done properly, and as I said, that one section, the punch is brilliant. Um, and then the scenes where there's two pikes, the music there is so well done because it's just
yeah.
matching the mood. And I'll get to the sick bay scene in the next category.
Oh,
But my goodness,
that was good. That was good. It
yeah,
just it needed it right the way through the episode for
mm,
every scene, and we didn't get that.
yeah,
There were certain scenes that needed it, and we didn't even get really any music.
yes,
The bit at the end as well, I thought was a nice little kind of just kind of up. Episode ends like, yeah, you got it there.
mm,
Why didn't you get it through the whole episode? So it's the same type of criticism I have for that one CGI. It's like,
yeah.
lads, you've been doing so well. How did you get it? You didn't get it wrong in this episode. I was like, you didn't add enough.
There's enough, yeah,
Where's a bit more? Just give me a little bit more. You'd have gotten a 10 off me. If they'd had that, they'd have gotten a 10 off me. For me, though, I'm going to go an 8.
yeah. I'll match you with 8 because, like I said, this is a category that is redefined for New Trek because in the original series, they only had a certain amount of music to work with, but it was how they used the music or how they did things differently with it.
Yeah.
We had that with Amok Time, where that music does not occur ever again, or if it does, it's only once more in Star Trek in the original series.
Mm.
If it is, it's for a fight scene between two people, so it's calling back to that. But like I said, that's the only time you hear that music. That whole episode is pretty much scored differently because it's on Vulcan. It's on the Vulcan home planet. It's meant to sound different, in the same way that we judge like in the Pale Moonlight or Best of Both Worlds. The score works there because they are pacing the episode for you by doing it.
Oh.
And I do think the pacing work is fine in this episode, but as you said, you have 10 episodes to work with. You don't have any excuse for not having the perfect score. Look at Picard season 3. That's where they get it right.
I literally every Wednesday when I'm actually in the office, I go in the office every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I have that on repeat in my headphones. And every time, like, I'm be sitting there and I get a little tap on my shoulder, I'll take the headphones out. You listen to Star Trek again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, and they just ask me a question. Yeah, go back to your Star Trek. Oh, thanks. Because I love it. I just like Jesus Christ. I don't think there is a better score apart from maybe First Contact in all of Star Trek. That score is fucking brilliant.
There are a few Enterprise suites I'd say are very underrated too.
I will agree with you there.
Yeah,
some really good music in Enterprise.
Yeah,
but for overall, I think the best season for a score is Picard.
Yeah. But like I said, the showrunners know in that sense that the music is integral for that show.
Oh, they were going all out for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they had to do it. Yeah.
This is the last one, lads. Let's pump everything into this. And they really did. They really.
So now we're down to 3 categories. Sorry, you continue on there. I thought you had.
No. So we did what we scored at 8, didn't we?
We scored 8. Yeah.
8. Okay, that's fine.
Now we move on to the last three categories. The first one is scenes. So, again, these are the ones that were taken away as iconic, as important scenes, as integral, and this episode is full of them, to be absolutely honest with you. I think every scene, with the exception to the last scene, which was a hook for the last for for season 2. I would do the same as I did in writing and say, like, look, that's irrelevant to the story. it's not wasted movement as such, but it doesn't really add anything to the episode. However, every scene in this episode was perfect in my view. There was no wasted movement really in terms of that.
I can't disagree with you. I really, really can't. The one thing I like a scene where it pulls on your heartstrings and you start to get emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that in this.
Yeah.
You see the man, you see the couple who are getting married, who are being married as the episode, as he goes forward in time. And within a couple of minutes, one of them is dead. Yeah. You've got that. You've got other members of the crew lying around, and then he's not just like lying still on a bio bed. He is literally in fucking pieces.
The first thing you see is the leg. Yeah.
His face is destroyed. His arm is destroyed. And then you hear the nurse
Chapel,
thank you, saying, if he pulls through this, he won't be the same. And like, oh Jesus H Christ, that's just fantastic. Even going as far as like you look at both scenes between Pike and Pike, just brilliant.
Yeah.
Like Manson Mount acting with himself is actually better than 90% of actors out there acting with other people. Acting with himself was fantastic. And unfortunately, I don't want to do this. But it's a 10.
It is a 10.
It's a fucking 10.
Because
it can't be any lower because it was fantastic.
Because like the sickbay scene is when the penny drops. Because Pike had set this up in a previous scene where he's saying like, I feel that there's something worse happening here.
Yeah.
Like he's saying like, I can accept the loss of Outpost 4. That might have happened in the next one. The Farragut might have been destroyed in the traditional timeline, but there's something worse happening because I'm still here. I'm still living through this. Future Pike hasn't kind of come in and said, well, that's the end of the story. So no, there's something worse to come, and it does happen eventually. But even then, like the scenes with the two Pikes are phenomenal. The conversation he has with Kirk that sets up him mentoring Kirk future on, because as I said, like Kirk knows Pike exceptionally well from him taking him under his wing, and like obviously now we understand why Pike does this.
We understand why. We also understand why then it's the natural progression for Kirk to take over after Pike on the Enterprise. I'm like, listen, there's no argument here. This is a 10.
Yeah.
It's
callback scenes, everything. Absolutely phenomenal.
I'm now, we're on the edge of our seats here. This is seat in the pants type of situation where like
it is getting close. So now we have his characters. So again, the biggest takeaways: Pike, Kirk, Pike and Kirk. I suppose the takeaways from this episode because
Pike, Kirk, and I think to a lesser extent Spock.
Yeah,
because Spock was fantastic. Even the Romulan captain, commander.
Yeah,
was actually
I'd
quite
say
good.
Too, yeah,
because he played a different than Sarek version of Romulan did. It was a different take on it. You could clearly see. You know what? I kind of want to have a bit of peace. And you can see a bit of emotion there. Not too bad. But for me, Kirk was good. But Jesus Christ, Anson Mount.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But see, this to me, I am going to call my shot here and say this is a perfect 10 for me, because when you look at what this episode is doing, and again, this is going to be leading to my score for consequences as well. This is confirming what we kind of already know, is that Captain Pike, being the moral center that he is, being the Boy Scout, as he's referred to a lot in the show, he is going to accept his fate here, because what he's seen is because, like, again,
he has to.
But the reason is he didn't know why. He didn't know why he had to accept his fate. Even in Discovery Season 2, like, even the back end of his head is thinking, like, okay, I've got time here. I might be able to change something here. And in the first episode of the show, where he has basically given up his commission and he's been dragged back into space, he doesn't want to be in space anymore because he knows he'll die out there, essentially. But he's dragged back out, he gets the itch, essentially, and he realizes, oh, fuck, I'm on the Enterprise again, And it all comes kind of floating back to him that he has to be out there to make a difference. And it is exceptional the way that first episode was done. It just blows every pilot out of the sky for me, and with a few exceptions, to be honest with you. But the fact that we go from that point on to this, and throughout the season, there are situations where Pike, I think the episode where the child is harvested for the good of the planet, and he's saying, like, if when you come back here, we can heal you, we can repair you, and all this sort of stuff. And like in the back of his head, thinking, I could come back here. You know, you have the stuff with the Telosians in Discovery as well. He has escape plans here. Like, there are opportunities for him to change his fate here. But this is the episode that nails the fucking coffin and says, no, you cannot be here at this moment in time. He needs to be there. You need to be there. And what that means is, for the rest of the run of Strange New Worlds, Pike is just going to be pulling those puppet strings and putting everyone the way they are, because Spock is in place. Kirk will be in place because he's going to be mentoring this man until he's ready for the captaincy. We have yet to see,
and he will be in place. The most important part of this whole thing is that he will be in place.
Yes,
when this happens. He at this point now he has accepted that, and like you said, he's going to be like, right, well, these people have to be here. Yeah, and I'm holding out hope that by the end of Strange New Worlds, he, his fate is sealed, but we have to get some sort of happy ending. I would love that. Now, the only thing is, once Strange New Worlds ends, I think that's just going to lead straight into the original series. I don't think we're going to get any of the original series itself in this show. But I'm like, I'd like for him to some sort of happy ending. We're not going to get it. No, but I'd love it. But this one, of course, is a 10.
Yeah, I agree.
So the next one is -4.
Well, the next one is consequences. And Jerry, what do you think the major consequence of this episode is?
Don't think there was any, really.
It's an alternate timeline. Never happened. Total computation.
No, it never happened.
It never happened.
It was a complete fabrication. Obviously, he accepts his fate. He knows what's going to happen, and this directly leads into beep, beep, beep. It directly leads into that. It is high consequences.
Yes.
To a lesser extent, you've got the bit that obviously the episode ended by going. Episode ended by going straight for season 2. Yeah. What's going to happen to number 1? What's going to happen to Una?
Which is also a consequence of the episode where it was revealed she was Illyrian to begin with. So that is a consequence itself, yes.
So,
but the consequences are that now that Pike has now met Kirk.
Yeah.
He knows what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah, go on, just fucking say it.
You say it, Jerry.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying it. No.
You're not saying it? No. Okay. Right. Well, I would believe the consequence of this has to be a 10, because bear in mind, if Pike doesn't do this, Spock has to be in a certain place at a certain time for a lot of things in this timeline, because without Spock, we don't get the reconciliation talks with the Romulans. We don't get whatever happens after that. Spock is so important to the timeline. If anything, Star Trek is making the argument that Spock is the most important person in at least this era of the Federation. Take what you will. Like, again, you can argue that the Picards and Cisco's of the world will eventually be the most important person, but at this moment, Spock is crucial to the survival of the Federation.
Yeah, great. Yeah, brilliant.
So yeah, it is a 10. And Jerry,
I'm sorry, I haven't agreed yet.
Do you agree it's a 10?
It's a 10.
It's a 10. Okay. So we have an episode that's had 5 10s, a 9.5, and a 9. Let's see where it ranks.
We don't. I'm sorry, Jonathan. Don't give me that bollocks. We know exactly where it ranks. We know where it's going. And I'm pissed off about it. I am not happy about it.
Have you done the maths?
I have done the maths. This is episode what?
This is the 26th episode. 27th episode.
It lasted for 26 fucking episodes, but we're about to have a new fucking leader.
We have a new joint leader.
What? Okay, I didn't do the maths right then.
No, you didn't. That's why I use an Excel spreadsheet. It does the work for me. So yes, if I'm starting off from the bottom.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yes. We have a 10 for plot. Well, confirm the scores here, right? What scores did you have on your sheet? Just to confirm here.
I don't have a sheet. I just say it and you put it down.
So we had a 10 for plot. Confirm or deny?
10.
A 10 for setting.
10.
9.5 for writing.
Yes.
A 9 for acting.
Yes.
A 7 for action.
Yes.
7.5 for effects,
Yes.
8 for score,
Yes.
and then 10 for scene, character, and consequences.
Yes.
That's 91.
It's 91.
Yeah, 91 out of 100. It's the same score as in the Pale Moonlight.
Is Impel Moonlight not 91.5?
No.
Damn it. Can we not give it 0.5? But technically, it has not been taken off the top spot.
It has not. It has company now.
Give us, Jonathan, give us a top 10 there.
Okay, right. So you'll see the rest of the running order rattling through now at the top of the screen since I've had that. Like I said, that has not changed since. Mm-hmm. So your top 10 as things stand are: in 10th place is Family from The Next Generation. That's at 82 out of 100. Then you have 9th is the Andorian Incident on 83 from Enterprise, tied with The Skin of Evil, also from The Next Generation. Then you have 2 more entries, one from Deep Space Nine in The Visitor, 83.5, and the season finale of Lower Decks, Season 1, No Small Parts, same score, 83.5. In 5th place is Emissary on 84. You have Amok Time, now 4th place from the original series on 88. Best of Both Worlds is now 3rd on 90.5, and joint 1st place is in the Pale Moonlight from Deep Space Nine and A Quality of Mercy, the season 1 finale of Strange New Worlds. For anyone who was thinking that we had not been doing new Trek justice,
it is now joint leader after 26 episode, joint leader as the best episode of Star Trek ever.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like I think we were probably having this conversation off camera at some stage, but like this is the standard that Star Trek is kind of expected to do, because when you had a season of 24 episodes, you could afford a bit of a shit episode. You know, like maybe you didn't have the money for it, or you had to get something out for the week. When you have 10 episodes, those 10 have to hit.
They have to be perfect. Now, this was a really good episode. It just scored 91.
Mm-hmm.
In our score,
and it's probably the best of the series. Let's be fair.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, the only thing is, when we watched, as soon as this is finished, I said, "This is 94, 95, easy."
Yeah.
And the fact that I got 91, it's still a spectacular score. But I'm not quite surprised, but I'm now terrified of. Is it next or is it? It's not next. It's not next. Okay,
it's not next. We got to stay of execution. Don't worry. But we do have 3 episodes to go on this time mark. But that is the level of episodes we're jumping into here, especially for this arc at least. So again, Quality of Mercy is an example of when you have a time episode in a specified period where you know you need to do something good, and for a season finale of a new Trek series, that's a marker. That is the barometer. And again, new stuff like Picard Season 3, the 2nd season of Strange New Worlds, the bar has been going higher and higher since then. They have got their groove. They know what to do with these shows. And the stuff they're putting out is absolutely brilliant. I'm telling you now, Jerry, whatever you're doing over the rest of the week, I know you've got Comic-Con to prepare for as time of recording. Drop fucking everything and watch Season 2 because you need to. It is crucial.
I will watch Season 2 while I'm preparing my questions for all the guests that I'm going to be for Christina Chong. I can never remember the other lady's name. Voice of Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. And then I think the easiest one I'm going to be doing, because obviously those two actresses unfortunately are bound to the strike that they're part of with the SAG-AFTRA and the MGA. I think it's MGA. No, WAFTA. And we completely and utterly support them.
Absolutely.
But I think we're not 100% about this now, but I think the voice acting for a video game might be outside that purview. So I may be, because I have a Halo panel as well. So that we might be able to actually
should get away with that,
a proper conversation about their bulk of work. So we will see. But really looking forward to it. So I will watch Season 2 or part of Season 2 at the very least this week. I'm taking a small trip to Cavan tomorrow, back on Tuesday. So just an overnight to Cavan, but I will actually watch a few episodes of it in Cavan.
Yeah,
I will let you know. But,
please do, because there are certain episodes I need your opinion on. Believe me.
Well, I know we're getting proper Klingons again, which I'm very happy about.
Yep, first up.
First up. Okay, good, good. Well, we're getting the proper Klingon look, and then I believe we're getting the D7s as well. D7 are in it.
Yep.
Okay, right. Well, I'm very happy about that anyway. So very, very good.
When did you find about the other? Yeah, I'll tell you off camera.
No, don't. No, you won't spoil nothing for me, you fellas. No
Never
spoilers.
Mind. Never mind.
Spoilers. No spoilers.
So, in any case, then, so that's what Jerry has to look forward to over the next while. But for you at home, what's next on this series? Well, we have done Strange New Worlds, and we are literally moving up the timeline. We're going to go to the original series where their time got a little bit fucky, especially when you throw in the Guardian of Forever. Or Guardian Tomorrow, I can't remember what he was called. Either way, the episode we're going to be reviewing is what people often believe is the best episode of Star Trek. The original series. We shall see if it holds up with the mug time. Does it actually beat the score, or does it not? This is the episode, The City on the Edge of Forever. An episode that starts off as a script submitted by Harlan Ellison of I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream fame, amongst other terrifying works. They start off as that. It gets diluted down a lot to become Star Trek friendly, but it is certainly a very tremendous episode in its own right, and it's one that we shall see if it holds up. Is the best way to describe it. I'm very intrigued to see what Jerry thinks of it, because obviously your original series taste have been limited to this series, so we shall see how this holds up. But for now, that's what to look forward to next on this. Before we get to other series. So, Jerry, thank you very much for your time tonight. I think it's fair to say,
pleasure as always.
It was a pleasure.
Fantastic. That was fantastic.
So with that in mind, then we'll sign off like we always do. We'll see you next time when we get to the edge of forever. As ever.